Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Mikkel Thorpe, and this is the Expat Money Show. Today's guest is a Canadian living in Latin America. He is one of the founders and CEO of EcoVillages and VidaVerde AgroForestry. Through EcoVillages, he is creating Veritas Villages. These are luxury off-grid communities all across Latin America, including Veritas Panama, just outside of Panama City. Please welcome my very dear friend to the show, Patrick Hiiebert. Pat, how are you?
I'm doing very well, Mikkel. Thanks for having me on the show.
My pleasure. I thought we would start off by talking for a few minutes a bit about your backstory. How did you end up arriving? How did you end up coming to Latin America?
Well, I'll try to shrink it into a reasonable period of time here. But yeah, I actually came from a software background. I have a computer science degree in Canada and started a couple software companies and was lucky enough, one in the late 90s and one in the early 2000s to sell those companies they were acquired, and wanted to take some time off. And my family and my kids were young at the time, and so we traveled around different parts of the world and spent quite a bit of time here in Latin America, from Mexico, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Panama, Central America, and then further south. And I just really fell in love with the area. And then as my daughters got older, my son Spencer and I moved onto a boat and started sailing around up in Vancouver Island, Seattle, Vancouver, Victoria area. The Gulf Islands are a really pretty spot. Rains a lot and it's a little chilly. But after doing that for a while, we really learned a lot about self-sustainability. And, it was very intriguing to me because we were, obviously catching our own fish and that kind of stuff, but generating our own power and desalinating the water and all those sorts of cool things. And I really wanted to kind of take that concept to land, where you don't really need to have any connection to, a grid or to a government institution or, some big industry or anything, and no reliance on that sort of thing. So the first one we did was in Nicaragua, and then it's just kind of a spread from there. And we build these communities now on what we call our first certification, which is freedom, independence, resiliency, sustainability, and transparency. And it's a lot to say, but I think everybody kind of understands those 5 words and what they represent. And so, yeah, I'm sitting here at Veritas Village in Coronado in Panama, and this one is really just getting off the ground now. We're doing a lot of work here, and so it's beautiful day, 24 degrees with a breeze, and for Panama that's a little cooler, so which is nice. So it's 24 is probably about high 70s in Fahrenheit. But that's kind of the background. And people said I couldn't do it, and that was a big challenge for me. It was like, oh, you can't make a luxury living off grid, because people think of off grid as some cabin in the woods or something, or a yurt or whatever. And that's the opposite of what we're doing. And as you know, Mikkel, our company is called EcoVillages, but we're nothing like the Green New Deal or anything. We make very clear that we're eco-sensible and not eco-fanatic. And we use things like solar panels and wind turbines and stuff like that, so that we can be off-grid and not reliant on other entities, but not just because, well, I mean, the offshoot of that is it's good for the planet too, but that's not the whole reason, right?
Sure. I mean, I think of it this way, this comes down to personal responsibility, which is really one of the tenets of libertarianism. Okay, yeah, we have the non-aggression principle, but really the sister to the non-aggression principle, or the cousin, is personal responsibility. And this is what it comes down is, so the community and ourselves and our neighbors, we take care of ourselves. We're not looking to the government to be able to provide all of these types of things for us. So having no power bill, and you just need to maintain your own systems, or your neighbor, like, I mean, you were at my house yesterday helping me deal with my battery backup for my house, because you know a lot more about electricity than I do. I didn't have to call the power department for these types of things. I call a friend.
Right.
I think that really resonates with a lot of people in our audience, being able to produce some of their own food, or a community orchard or garden, having well water on site, the power, all these energy. Like, we even bought a solar powered little mini bus for around Veritas, which is super cool. And it's just like this little silent bus that just creeps up behind you if you're not paying attention. But we don't have to go to the gas station.
It's even getting cooler now. We're in the process of installing a solar powered Bitcoin mining machines and nodes. So that, that's, I mean, as you know, every business within the communities of Veritas will require to accept Bitcoin. And so, we can offset expenses in the community too by also mining our own Bitcoin. So that we're taking advantage of everything we can being off the grid. But I think you hit on a key point, right? If you're living, I mean, a lot of people want to do this for themselves and be self-sufficient and move into the country, and that's great. But in my opinion, it's better when you have a community, especially with like-minded people. And like you said, I happen to know quite a bit about electricity, but there's the next guy would know a lot about plumbing or something or whatever, and the different things. And so we all support each other as a community, which is quite different than when you're, kind of doing this on your own out in the middle of nowhere. So this is, to me, a better solution. Plus, I really I really enjoy getting together with people like-minded, sitting around having a glass of wine, watching the sunset here or whatever, and you're not afraid. A lot of where this came from is, we'd always been kind of pushing towards these libertarian types of communities, but when COVID hit and everything got really crazy and censorship and cancel culture started just becoming pervasive, a lot of us sat around and going, well, we got to do, or I wish there was a place where like we could go and say what we want to say and do what we want to do. And, that's kind of where we just decided to kind of put our money where our mouth is and say, we're going to create these communities and make them actually happen. And that's what we're doing now. And it's great. I mean, it's amazing. Everybody that's come here, and I've met almost all the people buying into this community, and they're all wonderful people, and they're just so relieved. It's fun to sit around and have them just say, it's so cool that I can say what I want, and I never have to think about, what is there other, am I going to get canceled for saying that, right? So we're not saying you can't have different political opinions and all the different things out there, and we're not eliminating anybody from the community, but it's pretty obvious that, if you're kind of libertarian minded, you're going to love it here. And if you're
Sure.
really far onto the right or the left, you probably won't. So
It's a very much a self-selection process. This is why I'm very open about my thought process, my value system, my philosophy. And it's like, I'm not trying to tell anybody that this is how you should think or this is what you should do. I'm just sharing that after 25 years of continual travel around the world, meeting people from every corner of planet Earth and asking a hell of a lot of questions, while meeting all these people and studying different religions and philosophy and everything like that, that this value system is the most effective and efficient for human beings. Now, this is not a political ideology. I think of it more as a North Star. I think is it an ethical decision. And if you resonate with a lot of the ideas that we talk on the podcast, then the Veritas project that we're doing here in Panama is like the physical manifestation of that. Like I have private clients who come to me and they're like, I think exactly like you do. Like these are my values. This is what is important. This is what is not important. The Veritas is taking these, the non-aggression principle, the personal responsibility, the self-sustainability, these types of ideas and putting them in a physical space, which is so cool to watch it come to life over the last, whatever, 24 months that we've been working on it. One other point that you made, Patrick, which is so important, and I really want to like double down on and highlight here, is that yes, you can go out there and buy acres of land and build your own homestead. I've been following homesteading ideas for 20 years. But for me, it like it was cool, but it didn't tick all of the boxes because I don't really want to be out there milking cows and I don't want to be chopping my own lumber for fuel. And I didn't want to do all these things or learn about all the electricity or the plumbing or, be a jack of all trades. That's awesome if you guys have those types of skills. I have a very different set of skills. Mine is, the travel and the internationalization, the taxes, the immigration, the financing, the financial side. This is my background. I want to focus on that because that's how I can help people. But at the same time, I still want to be off grid. I still want to have all of these types of things. So to be in a gated community, in a protected community with cool, like-minded people where I can pay for those services at a reasonable amount and have neighbors that can assist you if something happens, like, geez, like your wife is the pediatrician for my kids. Like, like we're best friends, and I love your wife, and she's the pediatrician. Like you guys are our neighbors. So, opposed to going to a big hospital, like there's just so many examples we can use of on how a community of a couple hundred people can do this better than just you out by what is it? Down by the river by yourself,
In
like
a van
in
down
a
by the
van
river.
by the river. I think a community is the way to go about it.
Yeah, no, definitely. And we take all those boxes that we check on that list of things that we want in life, and then you can put it in such a beautiful place. I mean, you can't see everything around me, but the Veritas Coronado area has, jungle-like areas, forested areas, mountainous areas. You can see the ocean from most of it, and great breezes.
Good hiking around the region as well.
Yeah, we even have hiking trails within the community, and like you mentioned, community orchards and gardens and stables and a tilapia pond. I was just out at the tilapia pond a little earlier today. It's pretty cool, and the stream with waterfalls running through. I mean, it's just a beautiful natural place. And like you mentioned with your kids and things. And one of the big drivers for me in a place like this too is I'm really quite opposed to the indoctrination of kids around the world. Especially the Western world these days. And I grew up in the prairies of Canada. It was a farming community, right? And that's where a lot of the kind of jack of all trades skills come from, because you can't always just go out and dispose of something and buy something else. You were fixing everything all the time. But what I liked about that, and it's kind of that old adage, is that if your barn burns down or something, your neighbors come by and they help you rebuild it. And it's just that kind of living in the community here, where I feel like we're going back 40 or 50 years to that time where community, like you knew your neighbors, right? And you like I have apartment condos and stuff in different places, and I don't know anybody around them, right? But here I'll know everybody in this neighborhood, and everybody will know each other. And like I said, they're not always going to agree on everything, but we have the ability and the maturity to agree to disagree.
100%. It's not like we're trying to create some type of a utopia or paradise on earth or anything like arrogant like this. It is a gated community in the highlands of Panama, which has the philosophical background of don't hurt people and don't take their stuff. And we hold individuals, companies, and governments to the same set of standards, which is I think the big difference. And personal responsibility. It's like, I mean, that's just awesome. Like, I'm just surprised that more places like this don't exist on planet Earth, because it seems so obvious to me now, after so many years of doing this, that it's like this is the most effective way for a human being to live. So
yeah, and I'm going to look forward to when your place is done and your kids are here, and it can go down to the stream and catch minnows or butterflies or whatever, and be a kid, right, in the wilderness. And your school that you're going to have here, the expat school, I think is going to be amazing, because I remember field trips as a kid, right, where you just go out into the wilderness and discover stuff. And here you've got it all around us. I mean, we got capuchin monkeys in the trees here. We've got parrots, and every night just behind me at the pool there, the lovebirds come bombing in flocks and drink out of the pool. And it's a noisy mess, but it's pretty, because lovebirds are beautiful birds. But it's different, obviously, than growing up in central Canada, where you didn't have that diversity of tropical animals. But it's very cool here. So I really was so excited. As we looked at 40 or 50 different properties before finding this one too, and this one checked all the boxes, and we kind of all looked at each other like, this, I don't care what they're asking for it, this is the place we're buying, right? So then we started
it was
off.
worth to take our time, because man, the location that we found, Pat, is unbelievable. And just to paint you guys a picture, so this is about an hour or so drive outside of Panama City, and it's halfway up a mountain, not too far up that you're in the cloud forest and it's gray and overcast or anything like that. We're halfway up, so you're looking at about 4 or 5 degrees cooler than at sea level. So like you said, 24 degrees right now. That's amazing. But here's the cool part. If you want to go down to the beach, you're looking at like a 15-minute drive to the beach max.
Yeah.
If you want to go to the grocery store or the pharmacy or basically anything, there's a town which is about 10, 12 minutes away. So you just go down the hill, everything is there. But where we are is this secluded spot with this amazing view of the Pacific Ocean on one side and the mountains behind us. So it's
Yeah.
like pretty much every home will have an incredible view there, and you're off grid, you produce your own food, but you're not like 3 hours in the middle of nowhere, which is going to get old really fast. Like you need to go to town, you want to go out for dinner or go to the pub or something, you're 10-minute drive. Like it's nothing. It's like
Yeah. Like
literally
the town
nothing.
of Coronado here is, well, that's one of the check boxes, right? We want to have that seclusion and the isolation when we want it. But we're, like you said, 10 minutes away from a town that has, well, the town of Coronado in this general area was basically the first expat oriented area in Panama, basically because of the beautiful beaches around here. And so everything was kind of tailored towards, you have the best of the grocery stores, you have great, hardware stores, you've got movie theaters, amazing restaurants of all different types. And like you said, pubs, great pubs and things like that. So it was built for catering to expats, right? So and so you have that right at your fingertips. There's probably a half a dozen or more amazing beaches, marble beaches with coral, white sand, and black volcanic sand mixed together, and some just amazing places. Great surfing, not too far away if people want to surf. But then you
Kite
can come up
surfing
here.
as well, because it's actually a pretty good destination for kite surfing around that area too.
Yeah, right, or in the Chame Peninsula there, not too far
Exactly.
from here. And now I was talking to somebody else here, one of the Bitcoin guys that was around the other day, and he was into car racing, and I have a past of enjoying car racing as well. And they just built a track that we went to a few weeks ago, Mikkel, and
Yeah, for your
that's amazing.
birthday, that was
Yeah,
cool.
that's right. So yeah, I mean, there's just so much around here too. So you're not really in that isolated thing, but you have the seclusion of being in the community like this. Like you said, you close the gates and that's it. We're all in. And we have our own restaurants and stuff like that inside the community as well. With, I think, one of the most beautiful views ever, a 360-degree view of, well, on one side, like you said, there's the Cacho Mountain, which is the tallest mountain in this general region. And on the other side, you have the views of the Pacific Ocean. So it's pretty hard to beat.
Well, actually, this is a good point. Let's talk a little bit about the commercial area in Veritas, because there'll be certain things that we'll be providing for community use that will be part of an HOA, like the gym or the tilapia pond, or these types of things. But we're going to have commercial space as well, and this might as well be an all call out to the audience. Like if you have a certain type of business, maybe Pat, you and I can brainstorm what might work quite well in the Veritas project. I've already got a couple of ideas in my head, but I'll let you go first.
Well, some of the ones that are already, getting started are like the woodworking area. Well, let me back up a minute. Like to me, there's three things. You need water, food, and shelter to survive. And then after that, if you're in an off-grid community, after that, you still need fun stuff to do. Right? So we've working on a music studio, but if somebody is a music producer or just a musician that loves that kind of stuff and wants to be involved in that, that's great. Or woodworking and welding and different kinds of things, just for people to do different types of hobbies too. And obviously the school, we want to have a clinic with a little bit more wide range of not just not purely Western medical systems.
And make sure we have ivermectin on the shelf.
Yeah, we got lots of ivermectin. That's the beauty of this area, right? You can actually just buy that, and
Yeah.
you can buy anything except narcotics without a prescription here. So and yeah, so there's lots of different things, and an amphitheater for having music events and stuff like that. Like I mentioned, the hiking trails.
Well, those are amenities that the community will have, but I'm thinking more of a commercial space. So where my mind is going, like, hey, if you guys are listening today and you're a chiropractor and you want to have a small chiropractic shop or studio, I don't, what do you call a chiropractic? It's not a firm,
office,
it's
I
a
guess.
office, chiropractic office. If you wanted to have a chiropractic office, that might be a good one. If you, what I would really like to see there is a spa. I think this would be like the most amazing place for, if you had a background in spas and doing retreats and stuff like that, or yoga or something, and you want to bring down your clients for 3-day or 5-day spa retreats where you did all natural organic food and there was massages every day, and maybe you're making agreement with the chiropractor who's now your neighbor or something like that. Like you could
Yeah.
run that kind of business through Veritas because it's so idyllic, the location. So that's kind of the direction my brain is going:
Yeah.
spas,
And well, with the
chiropractor,
spa idea,
yoga,
with,
things.
yeah, sorry, to interrupt you there. With the spa idea, we've already had some kind of tentative plans to put that where the restaurant area is too, because obviously that kind of view is very relaxing and everything that you'd want from a spa location. And lots of potential things, like if you wanted to have a little clothing store or like sell beachwear or something like that. There's tons of different things you could do. And so we are going to have it like a commercial area. In my mind, I pictured a little bit like a European street, right, where you're just walking down the little shops on the side and bring some of that kind of feel and vibe to the community as well. And I mean, the sky's kind of the limit. There's so many things that could be. We're basically creating a small town, right? So that you have the market here. If you like doing, I don't know, making jam or something like that, right? It could be anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even in some of our other communities, you see a lot of that where we have a farmer's market every a couple times a week, and not only the local, like in this case the local Panamanians that would bring in stuff to sell, but the people in the community too. So it's kind of like having a little market every week or a couple times a week, and if you like to have a full-time job, you could obviously create a full-time business here. If you'd rather just say, I'd like to make like a few bucks off of my hobby, you could do that too. So I think the sky's kind of the limit for whatever people wanted to do here.
Well, another one that I thought of, and I've seen this in other places in the world where they'll have like a really high-end Michelin star restaurant, like super fancy. It doesn't have to be fancy as in white tablecloth, but really creative, unique food. But it's small. Like you're
Yeah.
talking a 6-seat restaurant or a 4-seat restaurant, and it's by reservation only, and people need to book a month in advance. And you might say, well, a community like ours of a couple hundred people isn't going to be able to support it. But don't forget, you have Coronado down the street, and there's
Yeah.
no reason that you can't advertise or people come from there or make it a destination from Panama City. People drive up to specifically go to dinner at your restaurant. And then someone who's running an Airbnb business in Veritas, or, we're doing property management for someone's home while they're in, Veritas, Mexico or Veritas, Argentina one day when we get those up and running,
Yeah.
those are getting rented out and it's a weekend away. I see that there's really high-end things that can be done in a community like this.
Yeah, absolutely. And you brought up another point of kind of the Veritas Village Club, which is kind of an exclusive club of, if you're a resident or owner in one of these communities, you'll get perks and discounts. For instance, when we are completing the one in Mendoza area in Argentina, you'd be able to go there, and if you want to make your own wines in the vineyard, you can do that, right? So, and different experiences, like you said, in Mexico or in Costa Rica or whatever the location is, you're part of the family, and you can, go, well, I'd love to go to the Veritas Village restaurant in Mexico or whatever. So, like you said, you could even do that on a weekend.
Well, before we kind of switch gears into future plans for Veritas, I want to put out a request. If anybody is a gluten-free baker and you want to open a bakery, you will have a lot of business from me, because getting good gluten-free breads or pastries or anything like that is always a challenge. And I am a celiac and have been for years, and I know other people in our community are as well. So gluten-free bakery, just putting it out there, okay, guys?
Nice.
Um, we kind of hinted at it, Pat, about possibly doing one in Argentina. I think Mexico will definitely happen. Let's talk a little bit about the possibilities of, what are our 5-year, 10-year goals, dreaming a little bit, nothing is set in stone at the moment, but kind of give people a taste of what they might be able to expect from us in the next few years.
Well, one thing as a basically a community developer that I've found is to get a lot of mom and pop shops that think they're developers, right? And they lock onto one location. And then if people decide, say, well, what if I don't want to live in Panama? I love your idea. I love the Veritas Village and everything, but I don't necessarily want to live in Panama. And for whatever reason, everybody can choose their own. What I think is to create these kind of communities that are very similar in terms of, the philosophy basically all that stuff that we just talked about. But, maybe somebody has a, real affinity for Mexico and said, well, if there was a Veritas Village in Mexico, I'd move there. All right, well, we're working on that. I'm traveling a lot these days to, like we said, it takes a lot of property viewing before you find the perfect one. And now that we've set the bar so high with the Veritas Panama one, it's like, now I got to try to find that in every country that, and you and I will do some traveling together and pick those places out. And it's fun and it's a lot of work, but I really think that, it's important to have the options available to people. And like I said, be part of that family. You're still in the Veritas Village family. It doesn't matter which one of the communities you're living in. And that gives you those benefits and perks. So to me, it's important because a lot of times, developers will be so, hard sell, right? It's like, oh, you got to buy in this place because this is the best place in the world. And I'm not like that. I want people to realize that, hey, I like your concept, but what about if you had one in the hills of Costa Rica? And be like, okay, well, we're working on that. So,
well, I think that the locations that we're going to choose, guys, are going to be very different from one another. We're not going to try to do the exact same community in 5 different countries. I want to do one on the Caribbean, one on the Pacific, one in the vineyards, one in the mountains, like all these different types of things, because like I live in downtown Panama City and I go crazy for downtown Panama City, but it's 32 degrees Celsius basically year round here. That's pretty hot. I mean, it's not as hot as it was when I lived in Abu Dhabi, but it's still pretty warm. So when I go on vacation, my wife and I are like, let's go somewhere cold. Like this is like, we want to go. I don't need
we've really
20, like,
we've really beat the Canadian out of you, I guess.
yeah, exactly. It's like, it's such a novelty. I'm like, ooh, it's 10 degrees. Like, this is amazing. Or like 15 degrees fall weather and I can wear a sweater. Like, this is cool, So I think having a community that has kind of a springtime weather all year round, I think is super attractive to a lot of people because not everybody wants to be in the tropics. But how about this for an amazing idea? And you and I have brainstormed about this loads, Pat, is, sell your $1 million home in California or something like that, which you're not getting good value for anyways, or get out of Vancouver or Toronto or wherever you guys are. And instead of plopping all of that equity down into one property, what if you could buy a property in the mountains, a property on the beach, a property in the vineyard, and you were to pay for all of them with cash, and you spent 3 or 4 months in one, 3 or 4 months in the other, 3 or 4 months in the last. And now you are not a tax resident of any country. And depending how we do it, I'm not giving individual tax advice, but you should be in a very tax favorable position. And you can rent out the properties when you're not there, which is going to pay for all of the HOA, pay for you while you are living, and provide a little bit of income. And you can have this variety. Variety is the spice of life. Like,
absolutely. And we've got people that are doing that already, right? So, in the US, Canada, and Northern Europe, Australia, housing prices have gone kind of crazy, and people are realizing that everything is a bubble in life. So maybe now's a really good time to take advantage of where those prices 100%. Are at, and especially with all the political nonsense going on in some of the countries, it's, in my opinion, likely for a lot of that housing bubble to come down and crash. So if you can take that, X dollars out of one of those kind of markets, come down here, buy 2 or 3 homes in different places, like you said, maybe one on the Caribbean if you want to go diving or have the white sand and the turquoise water of the Caribbean, and you want one in the Panama Highlands, like where I'm sitting now, and have the beautiful location and weather and everything, and various different places, right? And at the end of the day, you could have 3 homes and a nest egg to live off of for likely for what your one home in North America, for instance, is worth. So that's a pretty common story
cash flow
right now.
On it.
Yeah.
And cash flow on it, which is going to provide for your living expenses. And anyways, when you're not paying for electricity and you own your home outright because you don't need to take a mortgage because they're reasonably priced, and you've got a 250-year-old mango tree in your backyard, I mean, your cost of living is going to go down drastically.
Absolutely. I mean, that's one of the goals for these communities, right? You basically you have food on site, chickens laying eggs, and we have just planted a couple weeks ago over 40 different types of fruit and even coffee plants, which I'm excited about because I want to make my own coffee with the coffee beans from Veritas. But there's lots of fruit that I don't even recognize and haven't seen before. I mean, half of it I know, the other half is these rare but very cool looking fruit. And, I'm excited to try them all. But then you have the stables, right? So you can have your meat and you have all the different things. Plus, like you said, no power bill, no water bill. Like we have on-site deep water mountain spring-fed well that's producing great water. When it gets tested, the guys here are like, you should just bottle this. It's great water. And in fact, next week we're putting up the water tower, which I'm, looking forward to having. It's for the size of the community. It was recommended to get 18,000 gallons of water, and we upped it to 30,000 gallons of water. So, and the water pump is also solar, 100% solar. So there's no reliance on anything outside of the property. So, I mean, I like you have the apartment in the city and sit there sometimes and wonder, well, I'm paying this for power and I'm paying for this and I'm paying for that. And I come out here and I'm sitting in the welcome center here today, and we have a massive solar system in here that I as I'm playing with these things all the time. I'm trying to kill the batteries and I can't. Right. So that's the point at which I want to get to. So we never have any issue. But, I'm not paying a cent for the solar or for the power. Right. I've told you before, a few months ago, I was sitting here and watching out down the hill, and we had a strike of lightning and it hit the transformer on the power line and everything went dark except for Veritas, right? Because we're all 100% off grid. So, and it's funny because people, we have this in other communities too, but people who are connected to the grid come over and start charging their phones and their laptops and everything because we have all the power, right? And the Wi-Fi is still up. I'm using the Elon Musk thing right now, this Starlink, and that's 100% off grid, and it's running off of our solar system. So, and we get high speed. You can pay for more if you want. I think we have 300 megabits per second here, so it's fast enough for me to watch high speed hockey games and do webinars. So it's good enough for me.
Amazing. Yeah, it's interesting, and kind of to go back to our point before of why something like this has not been done. I think you hit the nail on the head with the last couple of years with COVID. The remote work movement, let's call it, has really picked up pace. So I think that this is also going to be an amazing opportunity if you do work remote or have the ability to work remote, or you own your own business and you can do management back to the company, and you can run everything through Zoom calls and email and things like that. Like I have a 30 some odd person team. I only have 4 of us in the office in Panama. The other 26, 28 people are all working remotely. That's the majority of the workforce. And I run a multi-million-dollar business where we're dealing with really complex issues, both physical things and digital things, and I can run it all remote. So it's like, if I can run it remote, you guys can run it remote. But even if you don't even have your own business, if you work for someone else, you're a normal employee for someone else, I bet you can go to your boss and ask them if you can switch to remote only. And then when you move down to Latin America and it's like cost of living 50% or 25% of what you were paying back home, and now all of these other benefits, you can have an amazing view looking at the Pacific out your window, high-speed internet. Your power is consistent. You're not going to be dropped from Zoom calls and things because, there's no fluctuation in the power. There's no fluctuation in the internet. And then when you're done, you just go for a walk, go for a hike, go fishing, go to play in a band you start there. Like, I think that's a lot cooler than just being crammed in a city, personally.
Yeah, if there was any silver lining to COVID, I think it woke a lot of people up as to what not only political issues around the world and how their governments dealt with this nonsense, but that many companies, many countries forced their people to work from home. And then what I wouldn't be investing in commercial real estate in a lot of places right now, because I think what I've been seeing, at least personally, is, and I was just talking to a woman from Canada actually as well, and she said their company has told them, well, this was a little while ago, but the company told them, we aren't opening the office up again. We'd realized that everybody's more efficient when they're working from home, and the cost of the office was enormous. And so we're not doing that anymore. And basically said, go where you want, go live where you want. And, just, you're still going to do the work. We're going to, we're going to check your results, obviously. But if you're still producing, great. We'll still pay you what you were paid before. And like you said, now you're down here, your cost of living is so much lower. Your expenses in a community like this are way, way lower than typical. And so all in all, it's, we're seeing a lot of the digital nomad type. And it, like you said, there's a lot of jobs. If you have your own company, obviously that makes it easier. But, we see a lot of folks like architects and engineers and stuff, software folks and things that can basically do what they do from anywhere. And that, they're lucky. And that, we see a ton of folks doing that. So it's,
to me, it's another recommendation for people. If you guys cannot take your business remote, or your employer will not give you a remote business, go to upwork.com, and see the jobs that are posted as freelancers. You can often have, if you have a skill set, like literally anything, you can find people who will hire you to be able to do that remotely. And you can, instead of having one employer, you can have 5 customers, and you can run work for them on a task base or project base or hourly base through a site like Upwork and get paid through that. And that actually gives you a lot more freedom and resiliency, because if something happens to one of your clients or you lose a contract, well, you still have 4 more or 8 more, or 12 more, however much work you want to take on. And if you want to go on holidays, well, you can just wind down a project. You can manage it from while you're on the road. You can do whatever you want, but that gives you guys the power, which is, like, for me, the most important thing. I want, like, us to have the power, not, give power away, which is constantly what we're doing in our lives. Is we don't want to take responsibility, and we give away all of our agency to others. And I think the environment we're in right now, you can't do that anymore. You just can't. It's just a mess, the world, and they can't be trusted.
And you and I use Upwork from the other side of the fence, right? We both have employees that we either found through there or currently work through there. And so, it is a great, there's obviously other sites as well that have the same sort of idea, but the remote working thing has just exploded. And, we were seeing that grow even before COVID, as people were kind of realizing, but our demographic has changed immensely. Before COVID, I would say that the typical resident or client of ours would be maybe somebody in their 40s. They were thinking, okay, well, I want to get a home in a tropical environment. I'm going to rent it out, make some money off of it, and then maybe when a little while later, I'm going to retire into that home. That changed with COVID dramatically because of remote work and all the other things. Now, the last 10 people that I've shown here have been some in their 20s, some in their 30s with young kids, some people with teenagers, and that's why this is the first community that we've been putting a physical school into, right? Because of that change in the demographic, people want to have the ability to educate their kids and not indoctrinate, but have a reasonable, libertarian-minded school as well.
Yeah, and a quick note on the school. This is the Expat International School that I run with my business partner, Michael Strong. This will be our first physical version of it. And what we'll be doing is it'll be kind of a hybrid model of piping in the education, the best teachers in the world, to the schoolhouse. And then we will have a guide there who will be able to facilitate things with the kids. But the idea is like a one-room schoolhouse, just like we used to have throughout human history. So you'll have kids of different ages all studying and learning from each other, instead of everybody being segregated in 30, 32, 38 kids per one teacher, and all they're doing is like herding cats all day. And there's bullying and being picked on, and then you got all this woke agenda and all this nasty stuff that you see in public schools back in North America. None of that will exist in this community, but in this school either. So if you have kids who are of school age, this is the perfect environment for them to really blossom and flourish in a safe environment.
I apologize if it's noisy in the background for me. I'm not sure if you can hear it, but we're building roads and everything right now. And I did sort of ask the guys to kind of give me a wide berth, but they're not listening. But the trucks are
No,
going by.
I can't hear it at all, but actually I'm glad to hear it because I want to see all of the amazing progress that's being made at Veritas. But this is the reality. I mean, this is being built right now, real time. We got our permits earlier this year. Actually, you and I were in Paraguay traveling together when we got the permit. So that was a big celebratory night. Lots of
Yeah,
good red wine then. But I mean, it is a community which is physically being built right now. Like there's nothing standing in our ways at the moment. So that's just like
yeah.
really exciting to see
I'm
happening.
normally when we build a community like this, we come in and any sundry buildings that are around get taken down. But this one that I'm in right now is the Welcome Center, and it's not indicative of the way we build. We build concrete and steel buildings that are homes that are high-end luxury homes. Not always huge, sometimes tiny homes, sometimes massive mansions, but and everything in between. But this one was so cool because it was built from all the material on the site, on the property. So the timber was milled here, the rock in the walls, and you can probably see a little bit of bamboo on the ceiling up there. The bamboo grows here. So it's kind of cool, but I just want to point out because sometimes, like I said, people think, well, if you're building this off-grid community, is it really like I mean, this home has three or four air conditioners, I guess, 5 air conditioners and 3 fridges and freezers and stuff, and we host events here and things like that. So, I just wanted to mention it because I was going to say it earlier. Because I think sometimes you get people thinking off-grid is like, oh, I'm going to have to be careful with the power I use and blah blah blah. And we're smart about it. We have gas stoves and gas clothes dryers and stuff, so we try to minimize the electrical draw. But in this welcome center right now, we have 45 kilowatt hours of power, and an average wasteful 4-bedroom house in the U.S. with the doors left open while they're air conditioning uses about 30. So we got 50% more than that. Plus, then, like I said, when we have the gas stoves and things like that. So, like I said earlier, I try to kill the batteries on these homes, and the technology is changing so fast. The batteries are getting better. Everything's getting better. By the 6 months from now, when homes are being completed, the systems are going to even be better than they are today, and it's literally changing every couple of weeks. So, just want to throw that out there before I forgot, because I've had a couple questions on that in the past, and just people want to make sure people understand that we're not making them suffer out here. Like, these are luxury homes.
Sure. No, it makes absolute sense. Another question that I always get all the time is security. Let's spend a few minutes and kind of explain security. And a quick side note for our hub members, we actually just put out a special report on gun ownership for expats when living overseas. And we go through probably a couple dozen different countries outlining the laws. But maybe you can talk a little bit about security in the community, and then we can go from there.
Yeah. So first of all, it is, like you said, a gated community. I guess the most important thing is we're in the countryside of Panama, which is very safe to start out with. Like, there's just almost no crime around here. Right. So, and it's anything there is petty. Is like you've left your camera on the beach and somebody picked it up and walked away with it. Right. But nothing's very serious. And, we also have guards on site. It's more for people's peace of mind, to be honest. I mean, we don't have any guards here, and I'm here all the time right now. But once it's an operating community, then there will be guards on site. There'll be a guy at the gate, checking people coming in and out, and so that it's very safe. You and I both have our gun licenses too, and I have guns here. We have a neighbor here with a gun range, shooting range, so that's kind of nice. Go out there and fire off some rounds out in his backyard, basically. And so, yeah, I mean, you're allowed to have guns here. You can protect yourself from that standpoint, but I really honestly never see it being required. But, if the next big event comes around and there is, some kind of craziness in the world, this is a very safe, like-minded place to be with people that will protect each other, right? So, and it's part of the Latin American culture too. Like, I was shocked in Canada when, the government or the police went in and arrested preachers in churches and stuff like that. That would just never happen down here. And it's just a different culture. Like, it's a live and let live kind of culture, and no one would ever come inside our community and start saying you got to wear a mask or something. It just would never happen. So
yeah, 100%. Yeah, we both have our concealed carry license. I have a number of firearms here, all legally acquired. For any of my clients who end up purchasing at Veritas, I'll be able to help you through that process, no problem. So you can have your own firearms. The other point that I want to make on security is, yes, this is a gated community. Yes, we will have guards there, and we will make sure that there's not random people who aren't supposed to be in the community walking around. But I also want you guys to understand that the idea of this community is not just to build 40-foot walls and, we're inside and we're all afraid because of the natives on the other side. Not at all. This is like, the people down here in Latin America are so awesome and they're so cool to spend time with. And it's so great to be able to learn the language and meet new people. And the idea of Veritas is to be part of the community, a larger community. So we're going to do the markets. We're going to have people who are hired. We're going to have friends. Like, I encourage you to make friends. And I think when you take a responsible outlook of being a guest in someone else's country, actually, and they get to know you as another human being, the likelihood of them just seeing the rich gringos on the hill and going and wanting to take your stuff basically drops to zero, because you've
Yeah.
shown them respect for months and years on end. They are your neighbors as much as we are each other's neighbors, So it's not just about this little gated community, it's about the whole region and how we're viewed. So we're very careful about how we behave and how we talk to people, and what we do there. And because of that, I would say this is an extremely safe place to be.
It is extremely safe. To me, it's one of the safe. I'd rather be here than anywhere in North America in terms of being safe. And, we're also very involved with the community. Like you said, the farmers markets and everybody's, but we're also not only creating dozens or hundreds of jobs as homes are getting built and orchards getting taken care of and all those different things that you need. But, we're very involved with the community. Just a couple of weeks ago, we installed a solar powered water well pump and system with the panels and everything to a community here that nearby with about 50 homes that didn't have water, right? They were literally carrying water in every day. And so now they're super excited. I mean, we've given them running water in their community for the first time. We were just plumbing it all over the last weeks, but obviously that, that makes them very happy and respect you. And they understand, like, they're protective of these communities, right? Veritas has a wide range of protection from the locals too. It's like, don't mess with that group, because these guys are providing our jobs. So and there isn't any messing with the different areas anyway, but the last place on earth I would think will get messed with is in here, because I mean, we have a great reputation, right? We help out people, our caretakers, even now, the workers that are making roads and water systems and all the things that are going on right now, their families all live around here too, right? So they know who we are. The mayor, in this kind of community too, or in Latin America, basically the mayors are very powerful. They're kind of like the governor of a state. In North America or Europe, we think of a mayor as like the mayor of a town. He's got kind of limited things that he can do. Down here, it's like the mayor of Chame. We're in the district of Chame here, and the mayor is like, like a state governor or even more powerful than that. And those guys love us. He comes here. I've spent lots of time with him. The senator for our area has also been here and seen this, and they see, like, you guys are bringing economy to our region, and they love the expats that are moving to the area, because they know that with every expat that moves down, there's probably going to be sundry jobs in one fashion or another. So, Panama's lucky it has the canal, but the regions out further away, the people are really wanting the jobs, and we produce a lot of jobs.
100%, 100%. Yeah, I think that this showing respect to the local community is so, so important. And, at every level, we try to do this and are always asking questions and are not coming in as this arrogant gringos, like, we really try to show respect on every level to the people that are there. And I know I can speak for myself. I feel very blessed to be part of that community and very thankful to be welcomed in. Um, yeah, just so, so thankful. I think it's just such a great opportunity to be welcomed to Panama, and with an amazing immigration process, and the country and the government so open to foreign direct investment, and having a tax-free country and a food, water, and energy independent country. I mean, it just ticks so many of the boxes right out of the gate.
Yeah, I guess we had some good news earlier as well with the immigration and residency. So
Absolutely. They've just extended the $300,000 price point for immigration. That's a $300,000 real estate investment. And we've just got word that Veritas will be able to qualify people for immigration so we can process people's immigration. And on that note, actually, I'll just say, if you guys send us an email to expat@ecovillages.life, not .com, .life, that will go to both Patrick and me and Andrea and the team, and then we'll be able to help you out. And then my lawyers can do the immigration work for you, and then Pat's team can help you with lot selection or choosing a home or answering questions about the community or anything. I tried to ask as many questions as I could right now, Pat, to kind of give you guys some background knowledge and information about it. But the best is just to send us an email at expat@ecovillages.life, and then jump on a private phone call and just kind of see if you think this might be a good fit, and get a feel for Pat and the rest of the team, and just kind of go from there.
Yeah, and like we'd start probably send you a brochure and you can see all the details of it, because obviously we can't cover everything in the period of time that we have to talk about it. And then, yeah, absolutely. I think there's just been a huge, like we've only announced this not too long ago, and we're getting pretty close to sold out in this community. So, it's been very exciting. Well, we've noticed just in our own internal marketing, about a 3,000 to 4,000% increase in the number of people looking for these types of communities, self-sustainability, freedom-oriented type of communities. And, obviously, so the world, in my mind, is definitely waking up to seeing that there, whether this is a plan B or a plan A for you, I think it's an important thing to have.
100%. And we also have another kind of, I guess it's a piece of news or an exciting announcement, which we might as well talk about. A quick disclaimer. First of all, though, I want you guys to understand that for this project, for Veritas and for the parent company, I am a board of director. I sit on the board of directors with Patrick and with Spencer. I am also a shareholder. I also purchased I can't disclose, but let's call it a 7-figure plus amount of the company. So I'm a minority owner of the company. And I was the very first person to purchase a lot at Veritas. I was, ticket number 0001. I got to get first selection of, yeah. I got to arm wrestle Pat, and I got to choose the first plot there. But Pat, why don't you tell us a little bit about Autris and the cool news that we might as well announce today? I guess as good a time as any.
Sure, sounds good. So Autris is our public holding company for the group of companies doing the Veritas Villages, companies EcoVillages and others. But so the overall umbrella company is called Autris. It's AUTR on the OTC market at this point, and a public company. And not too many people know about that. So this is kind of the first talking about it. And the reason for that is not that you and I are like, super interested in the stock market, because that might not be the greatest place to be in sometimes in the world. But for our company, what I was just talking about, when you have a 4,000% increase in the number of people that are wanting to get into these communities in different countries, Mexico, Costa Rica, Argentina, Ecuador, wherever we're going, continue to expand into, there, it takes deep pockets, right? So one of the ways for us to do that is to, allow two reasons. One, to do that, to be able to expand faster than we would without it. And two, because I really want our residents, who are very supportive of what we're doing and very like-minded, to have the opportunity to be, owners with us in the company. And so, yeah, we've created Autris. Well, we actually did a reverse takeover of an existing public company and moved their assets out and our assets in. And so you can actually buy shares in Autris at AUTR on the OTC market right now. I like the OTC market because it allows for international companies to have their own type of reporting. We may eventually move to the NASDAQ or NYSE or wherever we end up going. But the point right now is to give people an opportunity to invest in the company and give us the ability to expand the villages faster than we could without that.
Absolutely. It's super exciting, and it's one that we've not really been able to talk about. We've been working on this for, I don't know, a year or something like that, but pretty cool to be able to announce it on the podcast today. I would also say you guys can obviously just go out to your brokerage account and purchase directly, but my recommendation would be to contact Pat and the team at Expat at EcoVillages.life, and we can look at doing maybe a private placement or something else like that that would allow you to take part in the upside potential of this, really support the community, and not just buy a home, which I still think you should look into, but not just having it as an expense. This company can actually end up subsidizing a lot of that and the HOAs and things like that, because we expect this to be a very popular type of project because of all the market research we've done and the demand that we're seeing. And there's just so many cool things in the works that I just know that my audience is really going to want to take a bigger role in the growth of this.
Yeah, and like it's said, you can go, and you mentioned you can go into exchanges and buy the stock right now. I can't say where I think it's going to go. I'm sure you can imagine where I think it's going to go, but it's also
well.
Like
let me interrupt for you. Let me interrupt for you. We legally cannot say anything like that. We can't make any predictions. But what I can tell you is that I am investing my own time, energy, effort, capital, money into a project like this. Okay, so I'm putting my name on it. I'm putting all of my resources behind it. This is Pat's primary thing that he's doing with his entire life. We obviously believe in the validity of this project. Otherwise, why would we be doing it?
Yeah, and like I said earlier, my background was in software, and I really enjoyed it, and I did well financially on it. These projects are more about leaving a legacy, but at the same time, I do think financially they're going to do very well as they expand throughout the region. So yes, we are going to be putting together some private placement opportunity as well. So if there's limited number of public shares out there that you can get your hands onto, but we will be doing something along those lines. So that'll be the next announcement, I guess, Mikhail, that we can say, okay, here's the plan, and if you are interested in putting, maybe a larger amount into the company, and you see where it's going, then that's the opportunity for you.
Amazing. Well, there's 3 call to actions for you guys. If you guys want to be part of the community, live in the community, purchase a home or purchase a lot, then you can send us an email at expat@ecovillages.life. If you want to do a commercial space, if you think, yes, I have a great idea that would do really well in a small community with a town or a city close by, something niche or something really interesting that might be fun for people, then send us an email as well, and we can look at that opportunity. We'll be looking at lots of hiring of jobs, restaurateurs and, property management people. There's just going to be so many things that we're going to need in this community. If you're looking to do something or roll up your sleeves, send us an email. We're happy to have a conversation about that. And then number 3 is if you want to invest in the larger project, then send us an email at expat@ecovillages.life, and we can talk about doing a private placement and see if there's something there or not. Pat, anywhere else we should, any other final points we should mention to the audience today?
Well, I'm sure there's always something, but I think we covered quite a bit. And like you said, with the expat@ecovillages.life email, we're always, happy to answer any questions. Sometimes, you can't think of the questions while we're sitting here, but it comes to you later. And we have a great team on your side and our side, Mikhail, and they're always happy, and they're responsive too. And, I'm proud of that. We get back to people right away. So that's an important thing when you're chomping at the bit to find a place for your new life.
Amazing. Pat, thank you so much for your time, and I will talk to you soon.
Sounds good, Mikhail. Thanks again.